How the voice could destroy Australia. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and I'd like to have a look at an apparent list of potential, shall we say, demands, or probably more a wish list, or more accurately a starting point for negotiations for those who want to use the voice for political gain. Now, before we have a look at this and read an article in which Pauline Hanson discusses it, let's jump over to the poll I asked the viewers of the channel yesterday how you would be voting on this referendum, and I will be voting no. I don't think we need more government, and sadly our Indigenous brothers here in Australia are probably feeling as frustrated with the incompetence and failed promises of the government as every other citizen of this wonderful country. So, let's have a look here. 13% of viewers of the channel, this is 1,000 votes, and that is a significant number, but there's going to be a bias in the viewers of the channel. Many more, shall we say, independently spirited men than other polls. But 13% would still vote yes, 77% no, and 10% are going to throw their vote away with a donkey vote, which I don't recommend you do. So, Timmy Schnitzel's going, vote no to stop institutional racism. Is it just me, or is the world getting more racist these days in the 2020s? It didn't feel like that in the 80s and 90s. At least not here in Australia. It seems like it's getting worse. I think with the young people and the education system is leading that way because they're being taught to see everything from a racist perspective, aren't they? Brad is going, it's just AdSick all over again. Will the corruption and mismanagement be any different this time? Dream time. Yeah, I mean, how many people, though, who are voting in this have no idea what AdSick is? How many people have got no idea that this isn't anything revolutionary or new? This is just going to, be modified. This is going to forcefully modify the Constitution, so you're going to need another referendum to remove it. Could you imagine how difficult that would be? Oh boy. If they're trying to guilt people into voting yes now with claims of racism, could you imagine what would happen if you were trying to repeal it? What if this thing is a complete disaster, a complete failure? How are the people going to be appointed to it? Are they going to be voted for? Honestly, I would rather take the money you're going to spend on the referendum and give that as additional resources for the members of the House of Representatives that have significant Indigenous populations, so they have an easier time in reaching out and communicating with their constituents. Because some of these electorates are huge. They are just bigger than countries for one person. So how are you going to get around there easily? Give them more resources so that their people can be heard. But that's not going to leave a legacy for Labor, is it? Mark my words now, Heise, this will be rigged. The yes vote will get up. T is going, it doesn't need to be rigged. I don't think it needs to be rigged at all. I think there are enough people who'll just, boom, will just vote for the sake of it. They won't even think about it. This is Australia. We're now being psychologically manipulated through media to think that a no vote means you're racist. The government won't let the yes vote lose. We have no choice. Could you call manipulation through the media only funding one side? I mean, is that rigging it? Could be worse than anything. Darkly is going, given that the only real argument the Yes campaign has offered is it's the vibe, I don't think it's a valid case has been made. The No side has raised a lot of legitimate concerns with how this whole thing's meant to work, and the unwillingness of the government to be transparent about their intentions is grounds enough in and of itself to oppose it. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Here we go, A. Smith. I'm an Aboriginal Australian veteran, and I say no. It's a Trojan horse designed to destroy the fabric of our nation. This is going to cause more divide than anything, I would argue. You know, it's everyone's yelling, racism, racism, racism. It's such an old-fashioned and outdated way to, well, it's an evolutionary response. In-group preference, judging the other. You can't tell if someone's a lazy-ass bastard depending on their race, can you? No, you can't. It's frustrating. It really is frustrating what I'm seeing in the media all the time, in the social media, everything. They will bring in extra taxes for what dead people did to dead people. Change the flag, remove the Commonwealth. You cannot trust Labour with the Constitution. They hate the country. I don't know if they hate the country, but I think they... Maybe they do. Maybe they do, and they want to reshape it in their own image. It's frustrating. A Trojan UN horse. We've already said sorry. What else is this nation going to waste money on? What's concerning is how much money is going to be burned on all of this and how little impact it will have on people that really need the help. Maybe I've just been around too long and seen too much. We were studying all of this back at uni about bridging the gap and architectural interventions, particularly in remote areas, to improve quality of life. Just provide housing that can meet the robust needs of living in the middle of nowhere. This is a prime example of trying to divide the nation, or divide our people, so I say no. All of a sudden we have the right to choose now, do we? The voice will be abused by people with ulterior motives. Of course it will. I didn't realize we needed to change the Constitution in order to have Aboriginal groups that can advise the government on policies. It makes me suspicious that there needs to be a change to the Constitution. Yeah, I get the feeling they want to do something. You know what it is. You know what this really is. Labor's shitty that Liberal got in gay marriage. The coalition, the Conservatives, got in gay marriage. So Labor are shitty that they're not the progressive woke party. They bug it up on that. Remember when all of the Labor ministers were going, oh no to that, and Liberals brought it in. There you go. They want their woke legacy. That's what it is. Government-sponsored racism. First I've heard of it. I don't vote. They're all idiots. No one cares about my voice. So equally, in my eyes, I don't care about theirs. Are the Afrikaners going to sue the Aboriginals for copying their apartheid policies? Isn't that called cultural appropriation? That's part of humanity. The whole cultural appropriation stuff, it's bullshit. Trade, knowledge exchange, learning from one another. That's meant to bring people closer together. That was meant to be the one benefit of globalization, or one of the benefits of globalizations, that through interconnected trade, you'll have more people making relationships. What kind of fool will come up with such a stupid idea? No benefits and exposing the whole country to major headaches in the future. Let it go. Imagine voting yes, LAMO. You know what? Imagine a voice full of Lydia Thorpe. Imagine if it was just a whole bunch of people like her. You saw her rolling on the ground at this bloody protest recently. Imagine 100 of her yabbering at politicians. So, I want a smaller government, not a larger one. I want all Australians to be considered equal, no special classes with a special voice. Look what the last one got us. It's only about marriage, they said. Poor kids have no hope when evil is in charge. Last time I checked, Indigenous people could form political parties and run in local, state, and federal elections. So I'll just leave it how it is. So many people preaching about equality after extermination of a group of people. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Smoochie. I mean, there's been lots of horrific things. What it is, thanks. The referendum sounds very similar to something India has called the reservation system for the indigenous Indian, called the SCST. It degraded the government and system big time, as these guys got into important roles without really doing any work. That's a negative ghostwriter. Functions and powers, gulags for white privilege, convince me it isn't. Voting with my feet. Portland said it best, we should all be equal. The systems are already in place to give Aboriginal communities a voice, but are seemingly neglected. I get the feeling they only listen to the Aboriginals that are on their side of politics. All the conservative Aboriginals that are coming out and saying, no, we don't want this. Look look at what's actually happening in Alice Springs. This isn't going to help. What are you doing here? It's all ignored. Herbert's going, no, of course not. This will just swell the heads of those who want to represent the voice. That will be the same as most other politicians. Yeah, I think it will be. Those that are in real need will continue to suffer, and the waste will increase. Albo is a fake, just going through the motions with his tears to buy sympathy votes. This, along with all the other stuff in the message, climate change, LGBTQ, whatever, refugees, CBDC, more safety regulations will run out for everyone. We need less government. It's funny, 79% will vote no, but it will still come in. Jake Bob is saying, yeah, but that's the demo here of the channel. You got mostly men. Australian men voting this. A lot of people in construction. A lot of people who are professionals. You know, who've got families. Who've kind of worked hard to get stuff. So of course they're going to vote no for this. But the problem is, you could be a successful businessman with a family and have worked hard your whole bloody life, but your vote counts the same as some stupid bloody stoner, greenie voting 18-year-old that's not even paid for his own toilet paper once in his life. Maybe that's what we need a referendum on, increasing the voting age to 31. What else? I'm not voting for something if the government doesn't explain it to us properly. They never will. The Aboriginal consulate has been on the lawn for too long. Let them in the building, I say. It's never going to go. 100%. That's a should be a tourist attraction. I don't see the need to give one race a privilege over all others. Firm no, the referendum can't even get majority support on Reddit. It's a dead on arrival. I don't support race-based constitutions. I mean, this is going to be a real test for Australia. If the majority, if enough people see through all the bullshit guilt that the media is trying to push, that you're seeing that, people, hopefully some people will see the real side of Labor from this. They're not the good guys, everyone. They don't have the moral high ground. They want to manipulate you for their own political gains. That's what this is. Treat everybody the same. Race politics is a road to destruction. I honestly think this is just old school thinking here. You know? Maybe every century in the 20s, it's the racist century again. You know? It has to, we just cycle through the same bullshit again and again and again. 2020s, yep. Racism is back in favor now. It's really sad. Because honestly, I think there's two realities. There is the real world, when you're out and about meeting people, and what you get a few drongos you hardly ever encounter. Race doesn't mean anything when you're talking to people, when you're probably bitching and moaning about all the shit going on. House prices, that's a leveler with race, particularly when they got young kids. Everyone can bond over how bullshit that is in Australia. But then you've got the online. You've got Twitter world, which is completely and utterly insane. What else? I've yet to see information on how it will benefit all Australians. F that shit. More education needed. Be implemented in school towards such matters. Most people don't understand the whole system. It's rigged from day dot. No, our electoral system is fantastic. The fact that we can use preferences to have multiple options is quite a good system. But most people don't understand what we have. Isn't it time to treat everyone equally? We have to stop giving people special treatment just because of whatever. It is time to give everyone the same treatment. Honestly, I would say if you're going to give people special treatment, do it based on geography. Do it based on geography. If you've got a community in the middle of nowhere, in the past, Australia as always, the government has intervened, the people have determined that we want telecommunications out there, you want TV out there, you want this there, that there. That's how you deal with it. A PM crying is a disgrace. I haven't seen it. Only a moron would vote yes on such nonsense. Only thing that matters is who counts the votes. We'll have to see. Last thing we need is for the lunatic progressives to secure a permanent voting bloc. So let's have a look at this, hidden document that was passed on to Pauline Hanson. We'll have a look at it here. Apparently, someone found this in a cafe in Canberra. So let's check it out to see. So, because this would ruin Australia. If these type of things got in, Australia would never be the same anymore. Job quotas. Okay, and you already have race preferences for jobs. It's already out there advertised. Minimum 10% of appointments to be First Nations people for judges, magistrates, CWSES, ADF officers, Australian federal and state police force. That's insane. They're not even that much of the population. How the hell are you going to get that many that have the skills and education to do that? To be a judge? Seriously? Corrections departments, vice chancellors and ambassadors. What was it? There was a completely free scholarship for Indigenous Australians to become a doctor at UQ. At UQ. I don't know if anyone took it up. At least in the years I checked, no one did. So right there. You probably need to start getting people taking advantage of that before you want them to be judges and vice chancellors. Universities. No entry tests and no fees for First Nations peoples. You know what? I've got no issue with that at all. Honestly, do it. We don't need the voice for that. Do it. Why not? I was involved in a program at QT. They've got a special Indigenous support unit. And the problem is they push so hard to get these people through the courses. And some of them aren't suited to it. There's one young guy who was doing interior design. And he kept failing. And I was there, guiding him, saying, okay, you've got to do a site plan. You've got to draw this. You've got to do this. And I said, I'm not doing it for you. I'm just here to help you. The poor guy kind of wanted me to do it for him. They pulled me in saying, how can we get him through? And this is probably why I wasn't asked back. I said, the reality is he should probably look at doing a trade like his parents did. His father was a builder. Why is he here if he keeps failing? He should look at other options. He was a nice bloke. But, I don't know if he was that interested in it. I think he felt pressured to do it. But yeah, there you go. I mean, education. Why not? You could subsidize that. That'd be a fantastic idea. No entry tests. Yeah, that's stupid. You need that. But create more positions. Why not? That's the education is going to be the one way you're going to improve entire communities. And what you do is you make sure it's sensible degrees. You get them doing engineering, you get them doing mining, you get them surveying. Stuff that'll make them successful so they become conservative. Yeah. Not, basket weaving or Bachelor of Arts. No offense to anyone that's done that. The old age pension. Reduce the age eligibility for First Nations people because we die younger. Oh, what do you reckon about that one, guys? I know it's unfair, but hey, if you do that, then that's an incentive. That's a cost incentive for the government to improve health and amenity in rural parts of Australia. But, it's true. They do die younger. Our diet's really screwed them over. Public housing. First Nation people to have preference for all vacant public housing across all states. There's already parts of Australia where that exists. In Cooper Pedy, there's already a preference there. We were speaking to a lady who got kicked out of, what's that little town that's been completely destroyed? She couldn't get anything there. So yeah, there you go. That's sports and music. Entry fees reduced by 50% for First Nations people for any event on public land. You can have like a student card, a First Nations card to get your discount. Oh boy. Look at this is, I'm assuming this is, if it's legit, it's a wish list at the start of a negotiation point, or maybe just, some crazies throwing some ideas out there. Hey, if you want to get the best for your in-group preference, you're going to push for everything. This is the problem, guys. Those of us who are a bit older, we grew up in the 80s and 90s, we were taught that stuff like this based on race was reprehensible. That's how we were taught. You wouldn't even... stuff like this just seems ludicrous. But now I guess we've got a whole new generation of people that are thinking this is acceptable to put forward. Beaches and national parks. Oh, this is a doozy. All beaches and national parks to be the property of the relevant tribe, and First Nations peoples to be charged, and non-First Nation peoples to be charged to use the beaches, parks, and revenues to go to the relevant tribe. So they want to not really privatize the beaches. Imagine paying to go to a beach. How would that change Australia? Isn't that sad? I mean, why would you even put this forward? Think of what type of person would propose this. Obviously they want to get outraged. Maybe this is just rage bait. Maybe that's what this is. Because that's just going to destroy the way of life for so many Australians. That means you're excluding the poor from going there. Or you know what's going to happen? Everyone will find a way to identify as Aboriginal. I'm talking to Rachel, come on. Go in your father's background. Surely there has to be something in there, and the kids can get all these freebies. Because, I'm Indigenous descent of German-Austrian. Does that count? Bit of Prussian there? Rivers and streams to become the property of the relevant tribe, and fees for water consumption paid to the relevant tribe. They'll never have to work again. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be all the people at the top of the tribes. Taking the cream off the crop. Mining royalties, same as for water. Here's the best one, guys. This is why everyone's going to become Aboriginal. You're going to find a way. Income tax for First Nations people to be 50% of the normal rate. Liquor licensing. All new liquor licenses across Australia to be vetted by The Voice. I mean, this can't be real. Can it? Can we risk it? I mean, this is outrageous. This is insane. This isn't Australia anymore. Voice Office. Research and policy staff, analysis and review all proposed government policies, legislations and appointments, same size and pay as the DPMC. So let's check out this article that's discussing this. Okay. Pauline Hanson claims a secret note reportedly found at a Canberra cafe reveals 11-point voice agenda. So, I mean, there we go. There's everyone. I mean, just think about this. Imagine 100 of her being the voice. Is this how you want a senator to act? Going to a protest? Here's the whole trans rights shit that's going on at the moment. We already have unisex toilets everywhere in Australia. That's not an issue. Sports engagement, that's something for the individual codes to decide. I suspect a lot of this has come about through social media and Americanism infecting us. I mean, how many times have you met a transsexual person in Australia and they're completely normal? At least they used to be. Anyway. Pauline Hanson has claimed a document outlining a radical 11-point plan for the Indigenous voice to Parliament was found at a cafe in Canberra. The One Nation leader told the Senate on Wednesday she was handed the note, which has not been verified, by a concerned member of the public. Okay, it hasn't been verified. It could be completely fake. I'm hoping it's fake. I'm hoping no Indigenous lobby group would be putting together a document like that. But we've already got people calling for everyone to pay the rent. You've got blatant racism everywhere right now, and it's coming from First Nations peoples to Australians. It's really quite disgusting. And so I would argue we can't risk lobby groups. We can't risk this being right. If not now, or this could be at the start of a negotiation point. It's dangerous. Its disgrace disturbed me greatly, Ms. Hanson said. I'm trying to say to people, understand, if you give this the yes vote, this is what you could be opening yourselves up to. The document outlines a number of radical proposals, such as job quotas, with a minimum 10% appointments of First Nation people for judges, magistrates, 80 Australian Defence Force officers, and state and federal police, among others. That's going to be sad, honestly, because the Aboriginal Australians that actually work hard to get into these roles, like normal, are going to be undermined by these quotas. Kind of sucks. It also suggests no entry tests or university fees, first preference for all public housing, and all beaches and national parks to be the property of the relevant tribe, with non-First Nations peoples to be charged for their use. Here's a question for you guys. You know how they're claiming it's like a whole invasion and it was a genocide, they were all killed. How are there still tribes around then to own all this and to claim all this? How do they still exist? Can you explain that? You can't have it both ways, can you? The National Indigenous Australian Agency, the NIAA, a government body aimed to improving the lives of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, has denied involvement in creation of the plan. Ms. Hanson claimed NIAA staff members who were discussing the document at the cafe. If the Prime Minister is aware of these initiatives set out by NIAA, it would appear that Mr. Albanese continues to mislead the Australian people over the extent of powers given to the voice to Parliament, Ms. Hanson told the Senate. We already all have a voice to Parliament. It's our senators. It's our politicians. What about the Indigenous elders that recently went to Canberra? No one would talk to them. Again, it's all just bullshit. It's ideologically driven. That's what it is. In a statement to the Daily Mail on Friday, the NIAA said it is not and has not been drafting an early action opportunities plan for the voice. The alleged letter shared by Ms. Hanson stated the income tax for First Nation people should be cut by 50%. It also proposed reducing the age eligibility requirement for the pension because we die younger. I mean, this looks like a fear piece, probably used to discredit, put out there to potentially discredit One Nation, to kind of stain them. Oh, look at this, rubbish that they're putting forward. But here's the thing, everyone. These are all ideas that we've heard before. None of this is new. Hey, at least they didn't mention paying rent. Well, they pretty much are, to access the beach. In addition, it proposed reducing entry fees for sports and music events on public land for First Australians by 50%. Traditional owners will also be given ownership of rivers and streams, enabling them to charge fees for water consumption and generate revenue from mining royalties. The Voice would also aim to review and approve all new liquor licenses and ensure the Voice staff receive the same salary as the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Ms. Hanson expressed increasing anxiety after receiving the correspondence. She's previously lashed out at a proposal that could see Australians pay rent for traditional landowners, labelling the idea outrageous and offensive. The Pay the Rent initiative proposes a weekly payment for non-Indigenous homeowners to a sovereign body of First Nation people who will decide where the money is allocated without government input. I'm assuming that, that's just a voluntary thing at this stage. But, how many taxes do we pay that are not voluntary? The body, which is driven by the motto saying sorry isn't enough, hopes to turn the scheme into an organisation that encourages all Australians to honour the legacy of the elders by giving back to the land through monetary donations. These are just grifters, a lot of these people, aren't they? It is somewhat more just a way of living on this stolen land, its website states. Is it stolen or is it conquered? What happened? You got to pick. And what were they using the land? What was the quality of life here before in the last 500 years? How many people, if you look at the dental records historically, what was the quality of life like? Aboriginal rights activist Robbie Thorpe, who ran a similar scheme in Melbourne in the 1990s, has suggested 1% of weekly wages be paid to the body. There are no calls for the race-based land tax scheme to be made government policy, although ex-Green Senator Lydia Thorpe has backed the scheme. Of course she had. It came after Anthony Albanese accused Peter Dutton of playing games over the voice, a day after the Prime Minister's emotional press conference where, alongside Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney and members of the Referendum Working Group, Mr Albanese unveiled the question he intends to ask all Australians in a referendum this year. Australians will be asked a proposed law to alter the Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. Do you approve this alteration? It's going to get up. It'll get up on that. You know, alter the Constitution to recognise them, yes, and give them a voice. Yeah, that's perfectly nice, sure. It'll get up, guys. He also provided details about what the voice to Parliament would do, namely that it would provide advice to both the Parliament and the executive government. What would happen if the voice and Indigenous members of Parliament disagree on something? Or what if a member of the House of Representatives disagrees with the voice about their particular electorate or their constituents? How are people appointed to the voice? Maybe they should be appointed by regional locations. Only have one per every certain area of Australia. Then all the inner city bloody grifters wouldn't get a shot, eh? Someone out in the sticks, living in a remote community, maybe let their voice be heard. So they don't have to march all the way to Canberra to be ignored by politicians. An additional chapter would be added to the Constitution if a majority of Australians voted yes. Prolific no campaigners like Warren Mundine said the voice will be a disaster and it won't improve real outcomes for Indigenous Australians. The amount of stuff Mundine is copying online is just, it's so disgusting. The racial attacks that he's copying, at least I'm seeing on Twitter. What the hell is going on in Australia? We've gone backwards. It's gone backwards. I blame the education system. The constitutional alteration bill will be introduced to the Parliament next week. And the government has the backing of the Greens, while the Nationals are staunchly opposed. Mr Dutton and the Liberals are yet to form a view. On Thursday, after Mr Albanese's press conference, Mr Dutton said he wanted more detail before making a decision. There is a lot of detail that has been requested, and there are many more questions that have been posted today as a result of the third form of words put forward, Mr Dutton said. Mr Albanese said he'd sat down with Mr Dutton ahead of Thursday's press conference and had provided ample opportunity for questions. We know from a Republic playbook that occurred last century that it is nothing more than a tactic and it lacks genuineness to just continue to say, oh, we don't have the details. Well, do we have the details? Mr Albanese said in a press conference, no matter how much detail is put out, but Dutton will say, oh, what about more detail? That's the game that's being played here. Yeah, you've got to give more detail. You've got to tell us exactly what's happening. Let's have a talk about this one, guys. I can't imagine any of you watching expect the voice will make any difference to most Indigenous Australians. You're probably old enough and experienced enough to realise what the outcome of this will be. It will literally be a huge talk fest. There's already Indigenous members of the House of Representatives and of the Senate at state, federal and local levels. And what's happening? I'm hoping that list is a lot of rubbish, just some fringe bloody actors. You know, they'll be out there. There will be people that are calling for that. And what if they are the ones that get on the voice? Guaranteed they will be. People like that. Do we want those type of people, those disgruntled, adjutant people, having that direct say to Parliament, when they probably never get voted in for those type of insane policies? That's the real danger, the avenue that this gives. I'd encourage you to vote no, but I think, well, the majority of you already are. Oh well, we'll have to see, guys. I should put another poll asking you what you think will happen, because I think it'll get up. I think most Australians will just tick it. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. They won't think about it. They won't realise. They just want to be the good guys. They probably don't even want to think about it at all. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Check out HeiseBim and Heise Does. And if you're a fan and want to enjoy the content we create here, there are a few ways you can help out. On YouTube or Patreon, using our referral links, buying our pocket squares, or calling us if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day, and I will see you next time. Only one video for today, guys, because I'm tired. We were doing concreting all day yesterday, and we've had a good day today. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.